So, when you think about forest loss, what's the first image that pops into your head? Hold on to that thought, because over the next few minutes, we're going to challenge that picture. It turns out the full story of how forests disappear is way more complex and, frankly, a lot more interesting than you might think. Okay, let's really get into this. I want you to picture it. Seriously, what does forest loss look like? For pretty much all of us, it's a huge empty field, right? Maybe dotted with tree stumps. We're thinking bulldozers, giant trees crashing down, or maybe smoke billowing up from a fire. That's the classic go-to image. But here's the twist. That picture, it's only a small part of the story. Sometimes the most devastating kind of forest loss is much quieter. It's almost invisible from a distance. Yeah, it's not always a bulldozer. In fact, researchers now see three totally distinct patterns of destruction. So let's take a look at the three faces of forest loss, because as we're about to find out, this is about so much more than just clear-cutting. All right, first up is the one we all know and picture. Total clearing. This is that classic deforestation we were just talking about. It's when a forest is permanently converted into something totally different. You know, a cattle ranch, a giant soy field, or a shopping mall. Experts literally call this the death of the forest. It's final. It's absolute. The forest is just gone. Now, for the second type, this is where things start to get a bit more subtle. It's called fragmentation. And with this one, the trees are actually still standing, but the forest itself has been carved up. Imagine a new road slicing through it, or power lines, or little farms popping up. They act like knives, just breaking up one massive, continuous forest into smaller, totally isolated islands of trees. And the source material for this explainer has the perfect analogy. Fragmentation is like cutting a giant pizza into tiny slices. I mean, think about it. All the ingredients are still there, right? The cheese, the sauce, the pepperoni, but it's not a whole pizza anymore. It's just a bunch of disconnected pieces, and that completely changes what it is. So, why is this such a big deal? Well, a broken forest just can't function like a whole one. These small, disconnected islands of trees, they simply can't support large animals. We're talking about tigers or elephants, creatures that need huge areas to roam and find food and mates. The trees are still there, yeah, but the forest as a system is failing its biggest residents. And that brings us to our third and honestly most deceptive form of loss: degradation. Some people have called it the silent killer, because from the outside, from a distance, everything might look totally fine. The trees are standing tall, it looks green, it looks like a forest. But on the inside, the whole system is sick. The ecosystem is failing from within. So how does a forest get degraded? Well, there are a couple of key ways. One is selective logging. That's when people sneak in and steal just the biggest, oldest, most valuable trees. The other is undergrowth fires. These aren't huge, raging infernos. They're these slow-burning fires that just creep along the forest floor, quietly thinning everything out and poisoning the health of the entire ecosystem. And this is the really crucial part. If you look at a degraded forest from a satellite, it still looks green. It looks healthy. You would have absolutely no idea anything was wrong. But then you get down on the ground, and the reality is completely different. The ecosystem is falling apart. The richness, the life, the complexity, it's just gone. Okay, so we've got total clearing, fragmentation, and degradation. So where in the world are these forces hitting the hardest right now? Let's take a quick look at the global hotspots. Three regions really stand out. You've got the Amazon basin, often called the lungs of the world, where huge areas are being totally cleared for things like cattle ranching. Then there's Southeast Asia, a place with incredible biodiversity that's threatened by a mix of clearing and fragmentation, a lot of it driven by the palm oil industry. And finally, you have the Congo basin in Africa. It's the planet's second largest rainforest, and it's facing massive pressure from that sneaky degradation caused by logging and farming. So let's pull all this together. We have these three different types of loss. Why does seeing this whole, more complicated picture actually matter? Well, it matters because understanding forest loss isn't just about counting the trees that are gone. It's also about checking the health of what's left behind. And these three types are all connected. Fragmentation often comes first, making a forest weak. Then degradation can set in like a disease, which makes it much more likely to eventually be cleared completely. So to really get the problem, you have to look deeper than just the empty spaces on a map. You have to be able to see the sickness too. Which leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question to think about. When you consider degradation, If all the trees are still standing, but the web of life inside has collapsed, is it still a forest? Really makes you think, doesn't it?